Hello and welcome into our NJCAA Network studio. I'm Phil Constantino. This is the Division II Men's Tournament Selection Show. It's a 16-team field this year. All district champions, all automatic qualifiers. All of these teams know they're in, but they are going to find out as momentarily we fill in this bracket just exactly what their seeding is and who they will take on in the first round of the tournament. First round games are March 21st and 22nd. The games to be played at the Mary Miller Center in Danville, Illinois. The championship on Saturday, March 25th. Again, 16 teams, all automatic qualifiers, no at-larges. Next year, we'll go to 20 teams in Division II. We'll have at-larges, we'll have first-round byes. But for now, it is all champions in this field. And all of these games will be broadcast on the NJCAA network, including consolation games. Let's meet the teams starting with the top four seeds. The number one overall seed, Davidson Davie, unbeaten at 32-0. The South Atlantic A champions. Last 2 years, they were the national runner-up. This program has never won a national championship. Can they break through is the third time a charm as a top two seed. They've become a national power in Division III, and it is the fourth straight appearance for Davidson Davie in the tournaments. The number two seed, Niagara County, the Thunderwolves, 29-1 overall. They won 14 straight, including the East A championship. 17-0 combined in road and neutral site games for Niagara County. Fourth tournament appearance and the second in a row for the Thunderwolves. The number three seed, Henry Ford from Michigan. Third consecutive appearance and the fourth all-time for this program. 26-4 the overall record and winners of 22 in a row. This is an interesting team to keep an eye on. They last lost back on December 17th to Niagara County, the number two seed, who we just met in this tournament. 3 of the 4 losses are to Division I teams, D1 teams that were at-large selections into their tournament. So all 4 losses versus very good teams, the best of D1 and the best of D2. Henry Ford is the number 3 seed here in the D2 men's bracket. The number 4 seed, the hometown team, Danville area. The Jaguars, Central District champions at 24-4. It's their first appearance in 5 years and the program's 10th overall. Very good defensive team. Third nationally in scoring defense, allowing just 64.5 points per game. Danville area rounds out our top 4 seeds in this bracket. The number 1 seed, Davidson Davie. The number 2 seed, Niagara County. The number 3 seed, Henry Ford. And the number 4 seed, Danville area. All of whom their respective highest seeds in their quadrants. We're now joined on the selection show by Matt Ridge. He is the head coach of Davidson Davie, the number 1 overall seed in this tournament, 32-0 this year. Matt, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on the number 1 seed. I'm sure you expected this. You were number 1 in the final poll, but how does it feel to actually be given that number 1 seed?
Thank you, Philip. We're certainly excited to be back in the tournament. We know how difficult it is to even make this tournament, much less be the 1 seed. And we're very blessed to be the number 1 seed again. So I'd like to thank Chris Depew and his committee for selecting us for this big-time honor.
Now, you've been in this tournament a bunch lately. The last 2 years, you were the national runner-up. What's it going to take this year to get over the hump?
Well, Philip, that's a great question. Hopefully we can figure that out, but we know how difficult it is to even make the tournament, much less survive and advance to that Saturday night game. And this group's special. I mean, we lost 6 of our top 7 from last year's team that moved on to 4-year schools. And we're just, really excited to be back. The city of Danville does a phenomenal job with the tournament, and we're ecstatic about flying out and being a big part-time part of it.
Is there any pressure being the number 1 overall seed? I mean, 2 years ago, you and I spoke on this selection show. You were the number 1 overall seed then, national runner-up finish. Last year, you were not. Any extra added pressure, though, about being the number 1 seed in the tournament?
Every team is different, Philip. We believe we can control the way we think about everything in life. We don't see it as pressure. We see it as an opportunity to go out there and give it our best shot and be loose and have fun with it. At the end of the day, it's a game. And that's one of the things I think the last few years our guys have done an amazing job of not getting uptight mentally and going out there and just doing what we've been doing all season. It's been successful thus far, and we're hoping to find a way to win 4 more games, but we're approaching it 1 game at a time.
Any pressure about being unbeaten?
I mean, we've never been unbeaten to this point. We don't even really talk about that. We talk about winning the next day, which for us this week is practice. And hopefully if we can control our preparation, which is what's really real to us, we'll be ready for hopefully Tuesday when we play and tip it up there in Danville.
Let's talk about your offensive style. 9 times this year you've been over 100 points. You're the 6th leading scoring offense in the country at 93 points per game. You put up 145 in a game on February 24th versus Southwest Virginia. Explain for us, what's the offensive style of Davidson Davie?
Well, you didn't mention all those games we won in the 70s, but I believe the great teams can play either style, Philip, and this team likes to play fast. But if the game is slow, we believe our half-court pressure, man-to-man defense is what's carried us in those games we haven't shot the ball well. The game you mentioned where we put up 145, I believe we hit 24 threes. So obviously we're capable of making shots, but you're not going to make shots every night. And when you're not making shots, you got to be able to control what you can control, which is the defensive end and rebounding the basketball. And that's one of the things this team has really hung their hat on, is how we get after you defensively and hopefully create some easy buckets off our style of play defensively.
Well, it's interesting because you play rather fast, so the efficiency numbers really stand out. Your top 5 efficiency in the country, in part because of these numbers from your personnel. Let's start on the offensive end. Chase Mebane, 14.5 points per game, nearly 8 rebounds per game. He leads the nation at 72% from the field. What makes him so good?
Well, if I was a smarter coach, I'd be finding ways to get him more shots, shooting that high of a percentage. But Chase is special for a lot of reasons. He got an extra year due to COVID, and he's just blown up this year. He's playing with supreme confidence. And most of his shots are 15 feet in, most of them around the basket. So, we expect him to shoot a high percentage, but he's had a phenomenal year. Our guys have done a great job of getting him the ball where he can be successful, and then he's knocked in shots. But efficiency is a word we talk about a lot with our kids, not just offensively, but in terms of getting as many possible rebounds as you can while you're in the game and deflections and et cetera. We actually have a instructor on our campus that's big time into analytical stats. Kevin Egan has been a huge help to our basketball program here the last several years. And he's came and talked to our kids about once a week about being more efficient on both sides of the ball. So we're really blessed here at Davidson Davie to have a team. It's not about one player, one coach, or one person. And it all starts at the very top with our president, Dr. Hartness, who is at home battling cancer. And so I would like to mention his name because without his support, we wouldn't be where we're at today.
Defensively, Jarvis Tillman, 3.2 blocks per game, number 4 in the country. He's the one returning starter from last year. What does he bring defensively, but also what can his experience mean as you guys make a run at the national championship?
Philip, there's no question we'd be undefeated without Jarvis Tillman. He's our captain. He leads us in so many categories. He makes everybody better. He's always talking. Of course, he is one of the best shot blockers in the country, alters shots, rebounds the basketball, and unselfish to a fault almost. I mean, he just passes up too many shots around the basket for a teammate to get an open three. But his unselfish approach to the game has become contagious. These kids don't care who scores as long as Davidson Davie scores, and Jarvis has a lot to do with that.
What's the final thing you'll tell your team? You've been knocking on the door here for some time, back-to-back runner-up finishes, and obviously unbeaten #1 seed in the tournament. So what's the final thing that you'll tell your team before you take the court in your first game?
Just to play loose, and not be uptight. At the end of the day, there's literally millions of people in China that could care less who wins the game. When I played JV basketball in Chapel Hill and was a student assistant with Phil Ford and Dave Hanners and those guys, they said, Matt, at the end of the day, it's a game. And so you have to remember that regardless of how big the stage is, go out there and play with an attack type attitude and approach, and, have the right to miss when you shoot the basketball, and just go out there and have fun and play hard, smart, and together. And that's what we're trying to emphasize. We don't want to deviate from anything we've done thus far in terms of our preparation or what we're doing, because at the end of the day, it's just a game.
Matt Ridge, he's the head coach of Davidson. Davy in his 16th year, the number 1 seed in this tournament. Matt, thank you for the time. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you, Philip. We really appreciate it.
So there are the top 4 seeds in the tournament. When we come back, we will meet the rest of the field, and we will learn all of these first-round pairings. That next, it's the D2 Men's Selection Show here on the NJCAA Network.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
I have a little birthday message for you from someone too.
I heard you really love basketball. You're a good shooter and a good dribbler. Happy birthday, MJ, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Welcome back into our NJCAA studio. It's the D2 Men's Tournament Selection Show. 16-team field, all district champions. We've already met the top 4. Here are those top 4 again. Davidson Davy is the number 1 seed in the tournament at 32-0, an unbeaten record. Niagara County, the 2. Henry Ford, the 3. Danville area, the hometown team, is the 4. And it's time to fill out the rest of this bracket and find out all of our first-round matchups. To the top left quadrant, Davidson Davy will take on Florida Gateway, the number 16 seed. They're South Atlantic B champions. They lost 7 of their first 9 games this year, but they closed the season winning 7 in a row. Second consecutive tournament appearance for the Timberwolves. They were also the 16 seed in this field last year. Florida Gateway gets Davidson Davy in the first round. The 8 seed is Macomb, the Monarchs from Michigan. The Great Lakes C champs, 25-7 their overall record. The number 1 defensive team in the nation, 60.7 points per game allowed. And Macomb will take on Chesapeake. The Skipjacks, Mid-Atlantic champions, 29-4 overall record. Fourth-year head man Andrew Sachs, he has them in the tournament for the very first time. It's been a steady build to this point. They were 8-16 the year before he got hired. And now, year number 4, for Andrew Sachs, Chesapeake is in the tournament for the very first time. That's the top left quadrant of the bracket. The number 13 seed is Johnson County. They'll take on Danville area in the first round. The Cavaliers were Plains District champions, 26-7 overall. It's their 8th tournament appearance, and they are seeking their 3rd national championship. Last won the title in 2009. 5-12 matchup, Iowa Lakes is the 5 seed. The Lakers, North Central District champions. They went 24-8 this season. They will take on the number 12 seed, Waubonsie. Midwest A champions, their first appearance since 2017, and their 7th total. That's the 5-12 matchup. Niagara County will take on the 15 seed, Central. North District champions, 22-9 their overall record. Their first appearance since 2014 and their 7th total. That's the 2-15 matchup. Milwaukee Area Tech is the number 7 seed. The Midwest B champions at 96 points per game. They can really score it. They have the 3rd best scoring mark nationally. It's their 4th appearance. They've never won this whole thing. But Milwaukee Area Tech, you'll remember, was the number 1 seed when the tournament was canceled for COVID back in 2020. In the first round, They'll take on the Bears of Mott, the Great Lakes A champions. 24-8 their record. They've won this tournament 4 times. The last, though, 11 years ago, back in 2012. It is their 11th all-time tournament appearance. To our final quadrant. Number 14 seed is Arkansas State Mid-South. They'll take on Henry Ford in the first round. Central Plains champions. They lost the last 2 games of the regular season, but they won their district tournament. It's their second appearance. The only other appearance for ASU Mid-South was in 2018. The number 6 seed is Orange County. East B champions, 29-1 overall. Their only loss of the year was in their region championship versus Sullivan County on February 26th. So they started the year with a long unbeaten streak. Second all-time appearance for Orange County. The first, though, since 2006. And keep an eye on Romeo Aquino. He's a good player. Second leading scorer in the country, just shy of 24 points per game, and the leader among teams in this tournament. And the last team to me, Scottsdale, is the number 11 seed. The Fighting Artichokes, West District champions at 25-7 overall. It's their second tournament appearance, second in a row, and 4 of their 7 losses this year came versus Division I. They played a very tough schedule. So there's your bottom right quadrant. Orange County Scottsdale is the 6-11 matchup. So here is the bracket in its totality. First round games are on Tuesday and Wednesday, March 21st and 22nd. Quarterfinals are on the Wednesday and Thursday. Semifinals Friday the 24th, and the championship game is on Saturday, March 25th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. local time in Danville, Illinois. Again, all of these games you can watch live on the NJCAA network, including consolation games. So there you have it. There's the bracket. Coming up next, we're going to get some answers on the seeding in this field of 16. Chris Depew, he is the men's D2 tournament committee chair. He's going to join us here on the Selection Show. Stay with us on the NJCAA network.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Great seats at a great price. Get them safer, simpler, and smarter with Ticket Smarter. A proud partner to the biggest names in live sports and events, including ESPN events and iHeartRadio. Ticket Smarter has seats for over 125,000 live events and 48 million tickets for sale. All backed with the Ticket Smarter 100% ticket guarantee. Thinking about your next great live event? Think smarter. Think Ticket Smarter. Get your tickets your way, guaranteed at Ticketsmarter.com.
Chris Depew is with us. He is in his 3rd season as the committee chair for Division II men's basketball. Chris, good to speak with you again. Let's talk about this field of 16, and let's start right at the top. The number 1 seed, Davidson Davie. They are unbeaten at 32-0. You got a couple of other one-loss teams. Also, Henry Ford played a really tough schedule versus a bunch of D1 teams. So how did you land on Davidson Davie as the number one?
So we knew coming into the season that Davidson Davie is going to be one of the stronger teams in the country. They quickly rose right to the top. They've been at the number 1 ranking nationally for most of the second half of the season. It was almost a no-brainer. They've held that spot. They've continued to hold. They're unbeaten. They're defending back-to-back national runner-up. Matt Ridge does a great job with that program, and they were a pretty easy number 1 for us.
So not much debate, but you do consider a little bit the past years and success when you're picking that spot?
Yeah, absolutely. We take into all accounts current record, head-to-head, past success at the tournament, and Davidson, met all of those marks this year.
So then I guess how much of debate was there for number 2 and number 3, Niagara County and Henry Ford? Niagara County does have a head-to-head win over Henry Ford this year?
They've actually split. They
Okay.
beat Henry Ford a little bit earlier, and then Henry Ford actually returned the favor, early in January. Davidson, Henry Ford, and Niagara have been 1, 2, 3 throughout the course of the second half of the season. Both of them played tremendous schedules. They're good, solid programs. We landed with Niagara and Henry Ford at the 2 and the 3, just based on where the national ranking has kind of had them. Niagara's been pretty much a unanimous number 2 for about the last 10 weeks.
What was the hardest seeding debate?
At this point, the hardest seeding debate we had was between 5 and 6, quite honestly. Iowa Lakes and Orange. We spent a lot of time speaking about, the body of work from both of those programs. Orange had a tremendous season with only 1 loss. Iowa Lakes has 6 or 7 losses, but they play in a really, really tough league. So at the end of the day, it came down to a pretty tight vote and good discussion. And we ended up landing Iowa Lakes over Orange at the 5 and Orange at the 6.
Let's talk a little bit about Region 12 and how you manage that. Macomb is the 8, Mott is the 10 seed. I know that there's been discussion in the past to try and avoid within region and within district matchups, if you can, in the first round of the tournament. Was there any movement there between the 8, 9, 10 seeds to make sure that Region 12 didn't play each other?
So there was a lot of conversation, believe it or not, between 7 through 10 with Milwaukee Tech, Macomb, Chesapeake, and Mott. We spent a lot of time figuring out, where we should land and where the best opportunity was. Region 12 having 3 teams in, including Henry Ford, makes it a little difficult because they do play each other. They do see each other. Where we landed, quite honestly, is that Macomb and Mott come out of the same league. Macomb finished second in their league behind, and Mott finished 3rd, even though Mott owned a couple of regular season wins over, Mott had a couple of regular season wins over Macomb. We felt the body of work and the final league standing had to put Macomb a little bit ahead. We did have some conversation about a first round pairing in an 8-9 spot or even a 7-10 spot. And we're confident that we got it in a good spot and made the best decision we could.
You spread them out to all different quadrants.
Essentially, yes.
How is because next year the tournament's going to go to 20. You'll have the first round buys. You're going to have the at-large selections for the first time here in the D2 men's tournament. How's that going to change things?
Well, I mean, obviously the tournament's going to be a little bit longer, so it's a little bit bigger week, and we're still talking about the layout, and we're going to vote on that in the April meeting. We did spend some time at the end after we had this tournament seeded out. We spent some time if this was next year, where would we be and who would our at-larges be, to kind of see what we were looking towards and what kind of body of work we were talking about so we could advise people where we wanted to land. We were nearly unanimous on the 9 of us on the committee. We're nearly unanimous of where we were going to be on 3 of the 4 at-larges, and then there would have been obviously some conversation on the 4th. But basically, we take a big account was obviously your current national ranking and then the overall body of work past that.
How much have you looked at maybe the successes of some of the other divisions and decided to take that to D2?
You mean in terms of
the at-larges and how they
sure.
And how they've seen it and how it's developed and how it seems to be overwhelmingly viewed rather positively, I'd say, the last few years. Absolutely.
So as the chair of D3, I was the chair of D3 for a long time, and I'm the one that initiated the conversation for expansion. And I was actually in there on the first year, and I thought, I worked really hard to get us to that point. We're going to mirror a lot the Division I criteria when it comes to our at-larges next year, and we're confident that the experience we have on this committee is going to put us in a really good spot to make that happen.
So one thing that is unique, though, about this year in its final format of the 16 teams, it's all district champions. Every one of these teams has cut down the net, essentially. What does that say about the strength of this field?
Listen, historically, the Division II national tournament puts the best 16 teams on the floor. We're really excited about that. There were some teams that got upset, late in the game in their respective districts that were obviously national ranked throughout the course of the year. But we're really happy with the strength of the overall body of the tournament, and we're really looking forward to. We have some good, intriguing matchups in round 1 that we're excited about. Yeah,
seems like an exciting tournament ahead and an exciting future for the Division II men's tournament. Chris Depew, he is the chair of the Division II men's selection committee. Chris, as always, every year, thank you for the time and best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Here's our last check of the bracket. Number 1 overall seed is Davidson Davie, runner-up each of the last 2 years. Can Davidson Davie break through and complete an unbeaten national championship? They'll have to win 4 more games to do so. Niagara County, the 2 seed, Henry Ford, the 3 seed, Danville area, the 4 seed. This is a tournament full of all district champions, no at-large selections. An elite field, all champions, and those are the top 4 seeds, the respective favorites in each of the 4 quadrants. First round games start on March 21st, Tuesday, championship Saturday, March 25th. All of these games, you can watch them live on the NJCAA network. That does it for this selection show. I'm Phil Constantino. Thanks to our entire crew for all of their hard work. We say good luck to all 16 participants that are going to Danville, Illinois, and competing for national championship. And a reminder, coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern, it's the Women's Division II selection show. Until then, thanks for joining us on the NJCAA network.